In OneNote there are a few display settings that you can also control, and one that I like to change is particularly with reference to where the page list is showing on the screen. Now my notebooks show on the left hand side in my notes pane, my sections show across the top, and my pages show on the right. I'd like my pages to show on the left, so to do this I go into File in the ribbon and I go to Options in the bottom left. We had a look in an earlier video at some of the general settings. Now I want to look at the display settings. Particularly I want to look at page tabs appear on the left and not on the right as they currently are. So I usually tick this option here. Some of the other options here are create all new pages with ruled lines. I don't want to do that, but you might decide that's something you want to do. And I also like the navigation bar to appear on the left. I don't really want my vertical scroll bar on the left. I prefer it on the right where I'm used to it. But just have a look at the display settings. It's a matter of simply ticking things and going OK, and then returning to File, Options and Display if you want to untick them. But I'd recommend definitely page tabs appear on the left, and if I go OK, I can now see my pages on the left, but just to the right of my notebook pane, and I prefer it there. Now looking at notebooks more completely, we created a notebook called Event. And what I want to look at is the fact that you can change the color of the notebook and other properties of the notebook. Now there's a variety of ways to do this, and I tend to go the most direct way, which is to right-click Event and go into its properties. If I go into its properties, I can change the name that I want to display in my notebook pane. Now this doesn't change the name of the one file or folder. It remains as Event, but it does actually change what's displayed in the notebook pane. So this is actually a pink ribbon event, so I'm going to change its name to reflect that. And instead of this green that I'm seeing here, I might go for magenta, which is very close to pink. And so I've got a magenta color, and I've changed the name that's displayed. I'm happy with the location of my notebook, that it's in My Documents, but at any point in time you can click this button and you can change the location of where that actual notebook is stored. So I'll click OK, and what I see now in my notebook pane is that the name that's displayed has changed and the color has changed. Now as far as closing a notebook, one way that you can do it as well is simply to right-click the notebook and simply close this notebook. If I click that option, it does disappear off my notebook pane as I would expect it to. But to open my notebook, I'll simply go to File and I'll simply go to Open. Here is a list of recent notebooks from today, last week, and even older. And here is my event, which is stored in My Documents and was last worked on at this date and time. I can also see that if I just click it, that it reappears in my notebook pane. Now it's kept the notebook color, but it hasn't kept the display name. So be aware that you will lose the display name should you close and then reopen a notebook, sorry. So I'm going to right click Event, go into Properties, and again say that this is my pink ribbon. Event. And OK. We looked at earlier about pinning the notebook pane, and again, just to remind you, you can unpin it, and if you hit this little triangle, you can repin it. Now, with regards to the notebook properties and closing and opening notebooks, you can also go to File, and you'll see your notebook listed here under Info. My notebook's listed here. It gives me the location of the notebook and what the notebook's called, so it's called Event. And here in the settings, I can close also a notebook and get into the properties of a notebook. So you can either adopt the right-click method, or you can go to File and Info in the ribbon.